Oh, welcome back, Gems, to another wonderful episode of the Grateful Gem podcast. I am your host, Jasmine Shannelle, and I can't wait for you to hear today's topic. Gems are definitely going to be dropped, so make sure you tune in and stick around. Let's get into it. What's going on, Gems? I know you guys are probably like, girl, you've been missing, you've been MIA, how dare you just come back on here like everything is all good. um, you guys, it has been a rough season. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And like I told you guys before, I'm always in a point where if I'm not in a great mood or if I don't feel like I have anything positive to say, 9 times out of 10, I don't say it. And so that's why I've been MIA. But I've actually decided that those are the times where people need encouragement too, because I realize that I'm not the only one going through something. I'm not the only one who needs to be uplifted. I'm not the only one who has a trial and tribulation. I'm not the only one that life knocks down. So I decided that in my walk with God, even when it's hard, that I'm still going to show up for you guys, because the purpose of this podcast is to remind you guys that life isn't easy, but it helps when you have God in you. It helps when you can restore your faith and believe in what God has said to be true, and to know that the things that happen to us for a reason, and they shape us into the person that we're supposed to be, and it takes us where we're supposed to go. So I've decided from here on out to just stay consistent with recording and do the best that I can. I can't 100% sit here and say I'm not going to ever not record, because this was never my intention. I was doing so good, you guys. I was consistent. I was on it. And then I got pregnant. And then I went into just being sick all the time. My mindset was just not there. I was always crying. I was always upset, just stressed. And then going through a little bit of postpartum after I had my son. And then just trying now to just not be in the sense of just always being a mom. Like if you have kids or know someone with kids, and it's just, now I find myself trying to find out who I am again and what that looks like. And so in the midst of that, being a mom, being myself, being a friend, being a daughter, being a sister, being a whatever, we still have life, right? So there's just been a lot of different things going on, but we're going to get into that right now. I would say we'll get into that later, but we're going to get into it now. So as you can see, I did switch up the stuff a little bit. So I'm going to tell you guys the topics and everything once we get into the episode, because I think that it's going to do better that way. So today's episode is dun dun dun, being comfortable and safe. So that is one of the things, I'm not going to say the major thing, but one of the things that I have been experiencing. There's been so many drastic changes in my life, and I realized that a lot of these changes were going to happen regardless, but I could have had them happen different ways. But because I was comfortable and safe, or stuck in safe, or playing it safe, however you want to call it or put it, it kind of shook my world upside down. I went from a place of just, like I said, trying to find myself, get back to me, and God was just like, okay, on top of you doing all that, I'm just gonna disrupt everything that's around you because you're not listening to me. You're playing it too safe. In which I kept having conversations about this, and that's what made me record the episode, because this was actually not going to be something that I was going to talk about, because I don't know, it didn't cross my mind that that's what it was until later, until I started talking about it and speaking it out loud. And so I was like, dang. And so the third time I said it, I was like, you know what, I'm going to record the episode, because I keep saying this. So I'm like, somebody may need to hear this, that it's safer to play safe. However, safe may not be safe. And I know you're probably like, girl, what the heck? You just make that up. No, I did not. It makes sense, because even though, I thought I was playing it safe because of what it looked like, God was just like, you don't know what the futures look like. So with you sitting here trying to play it safe, you're actually hindering yourself, because you can go beyond the measurements that you're limiting yourself to. And so I was just like in a place where I couldn't understand it, you guys. God had told me, and I'm gonna go into detail. So simple situation. I had a a renewal for my lease coming up, and I was just like, okay, am I gonna renew my lease, or am I gonna find somewhere else to stay? But then I was just like, well, no, it's 2021. Hello, like, it is too expensive to be trying to leave, because my rent was still in the 700s, you guys. And to me, that was awesome. Are you loving this episode? Great. Don't forget to leave your feedback by rating and leaving a review on Apple iTunes. Also, don't forget to subscribe anywhere, wherever you're listening to this podcast. And make sure that you follow us on Instagram to keep up in the know of what's going on with the podcast. Okay, let's get back to the episode. Because other places right now want $1,000-$1,300 for a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom. That's like 600-700 square feet. And I'm just like, no. So I said, well, you know what? I will do another year in my apartment, and then I'll just start the home buying process, because I've been trying to be a home buyer since like 2017. I said that when I moved to Atlanta, I was going to stay there forever, buy me a house, but I ended up coming back. And so when I came back, I went through like different programs and stuff, but I was just like, no, this isn't for me, because I don't want to feel like I'm bound to a program and I don't have freedom over my house. This is my house, I'm paying for it. So I ended up not going with them, and then I tried again, but it was just always something. So I was just like, well, I'll do another year rent, and then next year, I'll be in a better situation, because, I had already started saving money and blah, blah, blah. So that's just what I was going to do. And so God was just like, girl, no. You're not going to wait till next year to do anything. You're going to do what I tell you to do. And it was crazy, because I got my renewal for my lease like a month or two earlier than what it would have normally come out, because it was kind of like an early bird special, but my rate ended up still going up by like $40 or whatever. So I was just like, well, how is this an early bird special? Because I'm not saving money, it's going up. However, like I said, I was still in the 700s, so I wasn't complaining. So I was just like, well, I'll just, resign my lease. And I was like, God, I'm gonna wait for you, da da da. And so I waited till the last day, till it was time for me to sign it before it like increased or whatever. And so I went to the office, signed it, and then a month later, I ended up going through some things in my apartment, and I was able to get out of my lease with no penalties. And now I'm just figuring it out, to be honest. At this moment, I'm just saving my money and trying to, wait for something to come available, because a lot of apartment places didn't have anything available, and the ones that did is too expensive, or they're not in the best neighborhoods, and that's just not going to work for me. So in that moment, I felt, to be honest, I felt a lot of ways. I felt like, what in the world, like, God, I have a son, like, I don't like just, being at somebody else's house or not knowing what direction I'm going to go in. Like, this is crazy. I was at my own place. I'm used to being in my own place. Like, I just don't understand why I had to just literally pack up my whole apartment. And even like with moving my things, because I kept praying through the situation. I was just like, God, you're going to figure it out. You're going to get me in another apartment, because my apartments was willing to put me in another apartment and everything, but they didn't have anything available until like mid-August. But they wasn't going to honor the rate that I had. It would have had to been $1,300 for a 1-bedroom. And I was like, no, not doing that. And so I was like, well, I'll let you guys know what I'm going to decide moving forward. And I was like, okay, well, on the 1st of August, I decided to go ahead and just move out, because I was just like, well, it doesn't make sense. I'm not staying here. I haven't stayed here for practically the whole month of July, so there's no sense of me continuing to have my stuff here and to stay here another month and have to pay you guys rent when I'm not living here. So I decided to go ahead and pack my things up. And to be honest, I felt stupid. I felt crazy, because I'm like, okay, here I am believing that God's going to figure it out. God's going to work it out for me. And in my head, to be honest, figuring it out was me getting into immediately another place, not having to put my stuff in storage and go stay with somebody else. That just wasn't what I wanted to do, if we're being completely honest. And so I think that was one of the reasons why it took me so long to actually move my things out. My apartment was packed up, but it took me a while to actually go and move things out, because I was still waiting for that perfect place to come up, and just believing by faith that God was going to provide another place for me to go move into immediately. So I was like, well, I don't want to put my stuff in storage, and then God provides me with the apartment and blah blah blah. So I waited. Like, I left my apartment July 12th, and I hadn't stayed there since the 1st of August. And so I just kept saying, well, I'm gonna wait for God. And so after a while, I kind of got frustrated, and I'm just like, I was disappointed. I was hurt. I felt stupid, because I'm like, for one, I packed up my apartment, and then I even considered staying there, but I was like, no, I can't stay here in this predicament. It's not safe. I have my baby. I can't do this. And so it was in that moment I had to sit back and ask myself, like, Jasmine, what in the world? What is going on? And so I remember having conversations with other people, and I just kept saying that, God told me not to renew my lease, but I did it anyway. And I'm going to be honest with you. God did tell me not to renew my lease, but because I couldn't see the bigger picture, I couldn't see what God was doing, I was just like, well, no, God, I'm not doing that, because for one, I'm not ready to move somewhere else and pay higher rent, and I'm not prepared enough to buy a house this year. That's just not going to happen. And for two, I don't want to, or for three rather, I don't want to have to stay with somebody else, because I have a son now, and having a baby, it's just like, you never know. With him, it's just like, some days are better than most. He's pretty much a chill baby, but sometimes he gets sleepy, he just cries. Sometimes he just has gas and he cries. Sometimes he just wants attention and he cries. And it's just like, I would rather deal with that in the comfort of my own home than to have to bring that to somebody else's house, And so I was just like, giving God all these scenarios, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stay here. And so when all of this stuff happened, I was just like, what in the world, God? Like, what are you doing? Like, and that was just the tip of the icing. Like, me having to move was just one of the issues, and I was just like, God, I can't take any more. Like, I don't know what else to do. I don't have any more questions. And then the crazy thing is, I was on maternity leave for 4 months, and I was getting ready to go back to work. But let me tell y'all how God works. So I was able to, when I went back to work, I was supposed to go back to work on the 7th of July, but I didn't. I extended it to the 12th. And so I ended up having like that whole week off, because they didn't have my access done. They didn't have anything. So guess what I did within that week? That week was when I started packing. And so I got finished packing by the end of that week. And then that next week, like the end of the next week, I started working or whatever. And so I was just like, it's funny how, in that moment, everything was figured out. God allowed me the time away from work. Even though I was back at work, I was still getting paid, because it wasn't my fault that I didn't have access. But I got paid to basically wait for them to fix my computer and give me access, and to pack up my apartment, to be honest. Because that's all I did. I took my laptop with me, and I went to the apartment, grabbed my son, and we stayed there. I packed up, and that was that. So that was how I had time to pack up, because I'm like, I'm going back to work. Like, this is just crazy. Like, I was just, oh my God, my head was just everywhere, if we're being honest. And I was just like, okay, God, how become you're allowing me time to pack up my stuff, but you're not allowing me somewhere to go. Like, I don't understand what you're doing. Like, I really don't. And then I had to remind myself what the word says. The word says that we must not lean on our own understanding, but into God's understanding, because his ways are not our ways, and we don't think the way he thinks, basically. Second of all, he knows what's coming and I don't. But it's just like, in that moment, you don't think about all of that. Like, can we be real for a second? In that moment, we don't think about what the word says, right? We don't think about what God is telling us in those moments. We don't realize it or get revelation. I ain't gonna speak for y'all, I'm gonna speak for me. I don't get revelation until after I've gone through that, and after I've gotten frustrated, or after I've come to the point where I just want to give up. And so, like I said, I went from a place of being content and comfortable with where my life was, that I just couldn't handle the disruption. Like, it was crazy. I had just had my son in March and still healing from that. That was just crazy. Postpartum, that was crazy. Just trying to build a better relationship, with my baby, and having to deal with some things with his father. And, that was crazy. What else? And then, like I said, having the issue with my apartment, dealing with that, not being able to stay in my apartment because of the issues. That was crazy, because it was times where I had to get up at like 5 or 6 in the morning to leave the house with my son because it wasn't safe to stay there. And I was just like, what in the world? Like, this is absurd. And I'm calling the office, nobody's doing anything. And it's just like, basically they can't do anything, it's out of their hands. So I'm like, well, whose issue is it? It's not my issue. Like, I paid to live here, so I shouldn't have to go through these issues and not have a resolution, or not feel like you guys care enough to solve the problem. And so that was just those things. And then going back to work, that was hectic because I didn't have access, and I didn't know when they was going to call me, and I was in the middle of packing and trying to take care of my son in the middle of packing, trying to find somewhere to live. And then on top of that, going back to work, my first paycheck, which was crazy because I had so much going on that I didn't even think about checking my paycheck. So one day I just happened to open my bank account, and I had $42 to my name, and I had just gotten paid. And I couldn't understand what the heck was going on, but lo and behold, it didn't matter because I couldn't log in to submit my time. But the time that my manager was supposed to submit it, because the days that I extended from my leave weren't paid, and I advised her that on June 30th, I have the information, the text messages that I told her, June 30th, I wanted to use my sick time or PTO time to cover those days, because at that point the paid leave would be ending or whatever. I still have like 9 weeks left of unpaid time that I could use, but of course you have to use your vacation or sick time. I told her this. She's okay, I'm waiting for the updates, I'll do it. Get back to work, and my check was like $400. What am I gonna do with that? And I end up paying like my car insurance and another bill, so that took the whole check. I literally had $42 in my name. And so then I had to call, get that fixture. And then the crazy thing is, when I got it fixed, it still wasn't fixed because I was still missing like 6 days off of my check. And I was like, Jasmine, how did you not see this? Like, I was just so, just think about it, I get overwhelmed. But I was just so all over the place trying to figure out what in the world is going on with my life. Because here I am in a place where I can finally be comfortable, get some rest, and just be content with where I'm at. And God's like, You too comfortable. Like, you're too comfortable and safe. You keep playing it safe, and I keep calling you to higher. Like, I'm telling you to do these things for a reason, and you're disobeying me. And that's honestly what it was. It was me being disobedient, because God told me time and time again, do not sign that lease. I did it anyway. And even with my job, like, the crazy thing about that is I've been battling. I was supposed to get my real estate license while I was on maternity leave. And I had the money saved up, but I ended up spending the money to clear off a debt. And because I decided, I was like, well, I'm just going to stay at my job because it's sure income. And I was just like, I can't be sitting here making decisions that are going to impact my son. And I just can't be sitting out here playing with money, because at the end of the day, he needs, and it's not just me anymore, And so God was like, listen, girl, like, Again, you're defying what I told you to do. And so when I got back to work, my work was disrupted. Like, literally, man, like, my paycheck was messed up, and then like I didn't have any access, and then once I finally got everything situated and all of that, once I tried to get into like a groove, I just couldn't focus. I couldn't focus on work at all. And then once I finally got back in the room, my computer was shut down. There was one day I was doing so good. I knew that day. I was like, well, I'm going to hit my numbers more than I'm supposed to today. And so as soon as I said that, my computer crashed. And it crashed for 3 hours. I was so frustrated because I'm like, I just said that I was going to hit my numbers more than I was going to exceed today. And I kept, instead of getting frustrated, I had to just sit here and say, well, why can't I focus? Because I'm like, it's not that I can't do the work. The work is easy. The job is not complicated. It's fairly easy. And I'm working from home. Me and my son, we're on the schedule. You know, he watches TV most of the time, or does his tummy time, or sits in his chair, or half of the time he sleeps, so it's not him. I just couldn't focus at all. And I kept saying, well, God, what are you doing? Like, why can I not focus in this aspect and, you know, part of my life? And so I realized, I was like, well, you know, here I am being disobedient again because you told me to get my real estate license while I had the time off, and I didn't do it because I was afraid, and I was too playing it safe. I was like, you know, this is your income, whatever. And so God disrupted my job. And so I'm telling you, it's been, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just been crazy, you know, because I'm just like, Jasmine, had you just obeyed what God told you to do, you would not be going through any of this. Like, can we be real for 1 second? If I had just listened to what God told me to do, I would not be in these situations. And I would be in these situations. However, I could have seen them coming, and I could have handled them differently, because I knew that, okay, this is a result of me obeying God. But because I disobeyed, God had to come in and disrupt everything. But had I just followed the plan, it would have been like, okay, boom, you would have been already leaving your apartment, preparing to put yourself somewhere to stay with someone until you can get something better. Boom, you would have had your real estate license and been planning your real estate for, you know, next year or whatever. So by the end of the year, you could leave your job. Boom. But because I told God, no, I'm not doing that. I cannot secure myself in these things because I can't foresee the future, because as if I'm psychic anyway. Like, I don't have psychic powers. So even if I would have did it, I still don't know that it would have worked, because can I see into tomorrow? Can I see into the next minute, the next second? No, I cannot. I'm not omnipresent. And so it's kind of stupid, if I'm being honest. It's stupid that I decided to disobey God, because I know that when God tells you to do something, you're either going to do it or you're going to be forced to do it. And in that moment, it's very disturbing. It's very uncomfortable. But we have to remember that in those moments are the moments that matter the most. They matter the most. And the reason I say they matter the most is because those are the moments where our faith get tested, right? Like, you go through something, God's telling you to do something, you don't see it working out, but you do it anyway. And through that, you have to be confident that, okay, I trust God enough to say He can handle this. He's going to handle this. He's going to keep me protected, because at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen. So it's like, you can have all these plans and none of them work. And the crazy thing about me is I didn't have any plans for this, because I didn't proceed coming to pass. Like, I didn't think I was going to be having to uproot out of my apartment. I didn't think that my job was going to be disrupted. I didn't think that my motherhood would be disrupted, you know, with everything going on. I didn't have any backup plans, and that wasn't like me, because I'm a planner. Like, I like to be able to control my situations, like situations in general. I like to have a plan for a plan. And in these situations, because I didn't foresee them, and at that point I was just frustrated and I had too much going on to even think of a plan, I just said, well, you know what, God, I have to go with what you're telling me to do, because at this point I can't think rational in order to figure this thing out. So I just wanted to encourage somebody with all that being said, because you're probably like, girl, you just going on and on and on. But I promise you there is an end all be all, okay? But in that, I just want to encourage you that if God is putting something on your heart to do, or if there's something tugging at your heart that you've been praying about, or something that you've been wanting to do but you're too scared, and God has called you to it and you're still saying no because you're scared, this is your sign. This is your signal. This is your validation that you need to obey whatever it is that God is telling you to do. I don't care if it's as simple as no, that's not simple. Okay, wait. I don't care. Let's go back. Rewind. I don't care if it's as simple as getting up 30 minutes earlier every day. Boom. That's simple, right? Okay, I'm just trying to keep it real. I don't care if it's just creating a budget and that budget is only $20 per paycheck in a savings account. I don't care what it is, because mind you, speaking of budget, let's go back a little bit about when I told you guys that I had been trying to get on a budget and save money for the longest, and God had been telling me to do it, but I had just been like, okay, I had been doing it, but I was spending the money. And so last June, May-ish, I think, yeah, May or June-ish, God put it on my heart really, really hard to just, I need to start saving. I need to start saving, and I need to be real with saving. And so I didn't understand why it was so heavy on my heart that I need to just start saving. But I was thankful that I did it and I listened and I obeyed, because I got pregnant in June, at the end of June, beginning of July. And by September, this time last year, I was out of sick time because I was so sick. So what does that mean? I was out of work or leaving work early on FMLA, not being paid. So what did I have to do? Pull from my savings. So imagine, had I not obeyed God and just said, well, okay, God, you telling me to save, but I'm not going to do it, I'd have been looking pretty stupid, because I wouldn't have had no money in my account. My rent still need to be paid. My car note still need to be paid. My phone bill will still do. My JA still do. I still got to eat because I'm pregnant. Hello. Which I wasn't really eating a lot or at all because I was sick. However, that doesn't change the fact that other things still need to get paid. So even if I skip a meal, I still got to pay a bill, right? That went together. Skip a meal, pay a bill, skip a bill, I'm going to be a rapper. But it's just like, that's something that could have changed my life drastically, because I could have got evicted, right? I could have been sitting in the dark, right? Like, I could have been carless. I could have got my car repoed. My phone could have been turned off. I would have had no means of transportation, mind you, while pregnant. And that would have just stressed me out. I could have lost my baby by being stressed out from that thing. So I thank God for that moment, because like I said, I didn't know why he was tugging on my heart for me. And I remember praying one day in the car, and I was just like, well, God, you just telling me to I think, and this was like once I found out I was pregnant, and I was just like, you're really pulling on me about saving. And I was just like, well, they keep saying after the second trimester I'm gonna get better, so it's gonna be fine. And lo and behold, after the second trimester, it did not get fine. I was sick up until the day after I gave birth to my son. No lie. I threw up literally the next day after having him. I was still sick. I was still nauseous. And even now, there's moments where I still get nauseous and I still am like, oh, ball over in the bed. So, yeah. Like, thank you, Mother Nature. But I say all that to say that something like that, so simple, could have really drastically hindered my life had I not paid attention to what God was telling me. So I don't know what it is that God is telling you that you need to do, but I promise you that whatever it is, whatever you're scared about, or whatever God has been telling you to do, you need to do it. Because I don't want you to have to walk down this path that I went through. But I tell you this, if it's in God's will for you, then it will happen. And I'm going to tell you now, going through a disruption when it's caused by disobedience, it's not good. I'm telling you, it's not good. I'm very uncomfortable in the situations that I'm in, but I put myself there because I chose to disobey God. I chose to do what I wanted to do and figure things out on my own and say, God, you don't know what you're talking about. When in reality, it's in reverse. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. God can see my whole life. He knows my life. I don't know my life. I'm not there. Like, I don't even know if this podcast going to be finished within the next couple of minutes. That's just how ignorant, if you will, I am, or we are as humans. We don't have that ability to predict what's going to happen in the next second. We just don't. So I just want to let you know that whatever God is telling you to do, I don't care what it is. If it's to venture out and start a new career, if it's to venture out and work on yourself with healing, or go to therapy, or find a new job, or save your money, or get rid of your debt. I don't know what it is. Call that person that you've been praying about. Call that person that you've been thinking about. Forgive that person. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Like I said, it could be waking 5 minutes up or 30 minutes earlier for whatever you need to do. If he's telling you, okay, I need you to wake up 30 minutes early to pray, then you need to do it. Like, I don't care what it is, because at the end of the day, if God's telling you to do it, then there's a reason. And I would hate for you to be a person that decided to do your way and God still have his way, but then you be upset. Because I'm telling you, like I said, it's not a good feeling. And I just want to give you some encouragement and just guide you, because in that moment, I couldn't guide myself. I couldn't encourage myself, because I was just like, Lord, what did I do to deserve this? And sometimes I thank God for the things that don't happen to us that we do deserve. We're not perfect. We're human. So I'm just like, God, why is this happening to me? And I had to sit back and realize, like, Jasmine, this happened because you were disobedient. God told you to do this, and you told him no. Literally, you said no. And you had a plan to do the real estate, and you just blanked out said no. And to make it even worse, I was like, let me spend this money on something else. So I couldn't say, well, I got the money to do it. I legit paid that money to a debt, settled it, got my settled offer, called it a day. Which it paid off in the long run. I feel like that was supposed to happen anyway, but it paid off in the long run, because I don't know what the next couple months looks like for me. However, had I just listened to God, I could have been in a different situation. And now here I am trying to focus on at work, and figuring out why I can't focus, and why I'm so distracted, and why I'm so bored with work, when it was because God knew this was coming. I didn't know that. And it's crazy, because the whole time I was on leave, I kept praying, and I kept saying, that was the main thing I prayed about. I said, God, when I get back to work, I hope I'm focused. I hope I can do this. I hope I can do that. So let me ask you this. What happens when the very thing that you're praying for doesn't happen? Like, I literally pray for focus, that I'm not distracted, that I can, have a decent schedule with my son when I'm working from home. I'm thankful that I'm working from home, because I don't want my baby going to daycare, and his dad is working out of town, and he'll be back at the end of this month. So that leaves it just to me, to take care of him. And how am I going to go take him to daycare and pick him up and do all those things? I'm just one person. So I'm very thankful that I'm able to work from home. However, I know what God told me to do, and I didn't do it. And so now I have a schedule that works. I am working from home for my son, and I still can't focus at work. I sit at the computer sometimes and just stare at it, or my mind is just like 10 places at once, when I'm just like, and I literally ask myself, what in the world is going on? And I keep coming back to my disobedience. Like, God told you to do that, and this is why, because he knew that this fits you in your last season. What happens when the place that you're comfortable in does no longer fits you? Because that's basically every aspect in my life right now is something that it fit me in another season. But in this season of my life, God is calling me to be exceeding, to grow where I'm at. So I'm stuck in a place that I no longer fit in. How does that work? Like, how does that work? So if this is you, if this is resonating with you some way, shape, or form, I just want to remind you of what God's word says. So in Isaiah 10, it says, fear thou not, for I am with thee. Wait, is it Isaiah? Hold on. It's Isaiah 41:10. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was saying. I'm like, looking at this, I'm like, wait, it's not that. So, Isaiah 41:10. So, do not fear, for I am with you. Let me say that again. So, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. So, what is that saying? And I changed the version I was reading from, because sometimes that fear thou thy thee they don't like, you be like, girl, what you just said, this is not ancient times. So I'm gonna put it in English format for you guys in the New International Version. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand. So basically that means do not be afraid of what I'm calling you to, because I am your guidance. Do not be dismayed. Do not turn away from what I'm showing you. I am God. I will strengthen you in the times that you are weak, and I will help you in the times that you're lost or you're weak. And I will uphold you with my righteous hand. But isn't it so crazy how we go through things and we forget all of that about God? Like, see, if we're being honest, that's how I was. Like I said, I told God, no, I'm not doing that. I can't be out here playing with my life no more. Like, I can't be out here taking all these risks. And look where it got me. Exactly where God told me to go in the first place. And so another passage or scripture that I come across is Romans 8:28. And this is, I was never, to be honest, I never really knew any scriptures from those. But me and my friend talked about this scripture, and I remember there is a song by Clay called 8:28, and it starts off, it's gonna all work out sooner or later. Don't forget about tomorrow. It's gonna work out in your favor. So keep your head to the sky. Do not be picking on my voice because I can't sing, okay? But anyways, Lecrae is called 8:28. And it basically says that it's gonna all work out. And in the scripture it says, and we know that all things work together for the good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. So that means that if God called you to it, he will see you through it. And regardless of what you feel, regardless of how it looks, if God is telling you to do it, man, the best advice that I can give to you to keep you from being in a season where you're disrupted because of your disobedience is to listen. And it's hard because, like I said, when you're in a situation and you feel like, I can't be out here playing with myself, I can't be doing that, God, and you don't listen, you're going to end up where God wanted you in the first place. Even if you feel like it's uncomfortable, even if you didn't want to be here because these things that are coming to pass, you knew would come to pass. At the end of the day, sometimes we have to go through things in order to get the bigger blessing that God has for us. And you also have to remember that this is temporary. This isn't your forever. This is for a season. This is not for a lifetime. So, man, again, I just say that if God is calling you to do something, like I said, small or big, do it. If something's on your heart and you want to do it, but you're like, I don't know, God, you told me to do it, but I don't know, you better do it. Do it, and do it with God. And when you get weak, pray about it. When you need help, pray about it. When you are confused about if you've made the right decision, pray about it. And I'm telling you, God will show up and he will remind you of why you did what he was supposed to do. Like I said, I'm so thankful that I decided to listen to God and actually save the money that I needed, because I needed that money. With a $400 check, what bill was I going to pay? Not one. So I'm super thankful that that happened for me, because had I not done that, I could have been in a whirlwind of trouble. So I just wanted to come on and talk to you guys about being comfortable and safe, because sometimes being safe is not the safest place. Sometimes stepping outside of your comfort zone is more safer than sitting in your comfort zone, because you can be very well comfortable in a chair that you no longer can sit in comfortably, but because you're so afraid, you're still there. But please don't let being comfortable get you stuck and make you miss out on a blessing or delay your blessing because you chose to be disobedient. So I encourage you that whatever God is tugging at you to do, just do it. And before you do it, pray about it. Ask that God help you make the right decisions when you do decide to do it. So that's this episode. I will see you guys on the next episode. Bye.